Hello, and welcome everyone to the conversation. I am so excited to have each and every one of you join me on this evening of the conversation. As you know, the conversation is a space and a place where we have transparent, open conversations where we talk about a multitude of different things. But all in the end, what we do here on the conversation is encourage women, and the conversation is a place where we break strongholds, where we bring awareness and where we bring education. Like, sometimes we are going through something and we don't necessarily know that we're going through it until we hear someone discussing it and we're like, wait a minute, that sounds like my journey. That sounds like my story. So here on the conversation, we break strongholds, we bring awareness, and we also we educate all the things. And so on this evening on the conversation, I am so excited. Yes, I am so excited that we will be talking about a very serious topic, but then also a topic where I believe it's going to touch a lot of us. We're all going to say, you know what? I'm somewhere in this story. I'm somewhere in this topic. So again, I'm so happy and so excited that you have joined the conversation. Now, hey, I want to know, let me know, where are you listening from? Where are you? So give me a hello in the chat. Tell me where you're listening from, because you do know one thing. The conversation may be a conversation between me and my guests, but it's also a conversation for you, for the audience. So y'all always chime in. Let me know, what are your questions? What are some of your thoughts? And if my guest, if Pastor Elaine said something that you're like, hey, that's something good right there. Let me see you. Now you know us. Give me an amen in the chat. Or if you say, you go, girl. Oh, you got that. Go ahead. Let me see this in the chat. But again, so without any further ado, I almost forgot the most important thing. TC community. TC community. Hey, now you know we like to have new members of the TC community, which is the conversation community. And if you are not, and I say, if you are not a member of the TC community, you can be a member of the conversation community by three ways. Yes, that's what I said, by three ways. Like the conversation, share the conversation, and leave a comment. And with those things, you too are a member of the conversation community. Hey, we take all, we embrace all. But again, so without any further ado, I want to get into this conversation. Let's dive in and let's talk about what identity abuse is. So if you're ready, let's go on into this journey. So we just want to welcome Pastor Elaine to the conversation. So welcome, Pastor Elaine, to the conversation.
Well, thank you so much, Andrea. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's an honor to be able to speak into your audience and to help everybody who listens. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And we're so glad to have you join us on the conversation to speak about this topic about what identity abuse is. But first, Pastor Lane, can you give the TC community a little bit about yourself?
Oh, absolutely, because I know majority of people probably have never heard of me before. And so I try to tell people that my story starts off a little rough, but it ends really well. So you just kind of got to be patient at the beginning. Yeah. And I talk about a story when I was about 8 years old. I was adopted as a baby, but about 8 years old, my mom had called me into the living room. And so I walked down the hallway thinking I was in trouble for something or I had a chore to do. And when I got there, my dad is standing in the doorway of the living room. And my mom looks down at me and she says, your brother tells me that your dad's been doing stuff to you. Is that true? And that was like the last thing I expected to come out of her mouth. And it kind of really freaked me out. And I'm like, okay, so we're not supposed to lie to our parents. And he's sitting right there. And so I just said, yeah. And she looked at my dad and she said, is that true? And he never looked up from the newspaper. He says, I don't know what she's talking about. So we had this really, really weird conversation going on. And then all of a sudden it just ended and nothing changed. And my dad never looked up from the newspaper. And because of my dad's lie, I started to learn to believe lies about myself, because when you're lied about, lied to, and you have that kind of stuff going on, it changes your sense of self, your value, your identity. and it can really jack you up. And I tell people it really jacked me up, and that's a whole other story. But I did what every good jacked up person should do. I became a licensed marriage and family therapist and an ordained pastor. I tell people I became a professional codependent, and you might be codependent, but I get paid for it. So there's the bonus. And then after all of my years of college and all my personal therapy, and then I practiced professional therapy for 20 years, and I was also a pastor for about 12 years, my clients would still get stuck, and it was extremely frustrating. And they would like over-identify with their negative stuff, and they would just sit there, and they were making progress. I mean, from a clinical standpoint, but they would only go so far. And I was kind of frustrated about that. So I was sitting on my couch and I'm thinking, why would somebody decide to over-identify with something that's negative? You know, why would they do that? And I wasn't praying. There's one recording where it says I was praying, but that's just because I keep thinking about it all the time. I was just sitting there. And I heard these two words. Would you like to know what they are?
Yes.
Identity abuse. And I'm thinking, what is that? Because as a professional, I would have never put those two words together because they're too ethereal. Because they're just like, nebulous. And I asked, so I actually started praying, which was a norm, right? And I asked God, if my identity that you gave me was abused, what would that do to me? And for 3 days, I went through all like the statistics manual of diagnoses. And I thought about all these different emotional disorders that people have. They are believing a lie. And I was totally blown away by that. I mean, totally blown away by that. And so at the time I was working for this really large church, and we had this big staff meeting. And during staff meeting, they kind of went around, let everybody share. And I went to the whiteboard. I'm like, you're not going to believe what God showed me. He's like, da, 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 da. And so if you believe this and that and this and that, da, da, da. And everybody's kind of like looking at me like I lost my mind. But it was such a profound thing. It was motivating me to go and just share it. And the next day, one of my colleagues texted me and said, thank you so much for sharing about identity abuse. I now see how the enemy has derailed my ministry. And it was wild. And so I went back to my clients, and statistically, in the clinical world, they will tell you that narcissists cannot be healed. And one of my first clients on that next day was a narcissist, and he came in, and I'm trying to make small talk, right? Just to do my thing. And I finally said, is there something in particular you'd like to talk about today? And he's like, no. And I said, well, I have something I really want to talk to you about. And
you was like, great, pick me. I have something to say.
Because I thought if this works with him, it would explain so much. I mean, it would prove the depth of the value of the information. And this person, when I explained it and I said, when did you receive that negative message? And he said, thus and so. And I said, you realize that was a lie and you don't have to believe it anymore. And he says, you mean I never have to prove myself again? And I said, no. Ooh. And he cried for like 20 minutes and he left a changed man. And I thought, okay, if that works like that does, then I need to figure out how to share this better. I did a course where people could come to the church and I kind of walked them through the course, but that's when I decided to make a digital course. And the standalone course, I mean, you can buy it off my website. I mean, but the problem with that is people would only go to like lesson 4 or 5 when it really started getting tough. And they'd kind of drop off and they're like, so I did a group where I'm actually walking people through in a group. And then the group we do as a community. And that was so much better. But so hi, that's right. I always say by the end, 13 years later, when the police came knocking on my door, the first time I ever again talked about it, I told the police what my dad did to me, and he did go to jail.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay.
I know that's a lot of
I have so many questions, but I want to stay in a certain line, but this is what I do want to know. So did your mother ever believe you at any point?
Only after he was arrested and went to jail. But even that day after the day he got arrested, I think it was, He had come to my, it's a bad story. He came to my house. I was renting his house from him. He came in the back door because it was his house, right? And said, I'm going to be arrested tomorrow, but based on what you say, will dictate whether or not I go to jail. So what are you going to say?
Mm.
And that was the only time he had ever talked to me about any, I mean, it was just so bad. The next day he got arrested. They told him, we're going to come and arrest you. So they arrested him. And I was Halloween and I was pregnant with my second child.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm standing at the front door, like I was 8 months pregnant, and I'm handing out candy. My mom is on the phone and she's like, how could you lie about your dad like that? How could you, and just like, and
Mm.
so it's like, no, we never talked about it. I never talked about it. I asked my friends from high school when I got older, I'm like, did I ever tell you? And they said, no, we knew something was going on, but you always just said to stay away from your dad. And I'm like, oh, okay. So it was interesting to go back after time, and
Yeah.
probably, you know, I don't know how long after that. Obviously the relationship with my parents, and plus they adopted us, and me and my two brothers. None of us were biologically related. It was
Mm-hmm.
strained all the way. But as the years went by, she asked me one time, she says, how come you never told me? And I said, I did. And you could see her going back
Mm.
into the memory of her mind. And she says, how come you never said anything again? And I said, if you didn't believe me the first time, why would I think you'd believe me the second time?
Ooh, that's very powerful. That's a powerful statement because we hear that statement a lot, but the weight that that statement holds, I don't think individuals understand the weight that it holds. If you did not believe me the first time, why would I tell you again? Especially when especially when, excuse me, I came to you and I was being open, I was being transparent, and let alone I was being vulnerable. I was in a vulnerable state. So all three of these things are saying that I really needed you. I needed that comforting. It's almost like when we're being open, transparent, and vulnerable, it's like you see the inside of my soul. And I'm saying, here I am. But then your response is predicated upon what my next move is going to be. And it's like you said, hey, you don't matter. Boom. And so now the door is shut.
Yeah, and the part of the story that I leave out just for brevity's sake is that during that conversation with my dad, one time he says, I don't recall what she's talking about. And I just got really angry
Mm.
and I started yelling. And I said, what do you mean you don't recall? It happened yesterday. It happens all the time. And I was expecting my mom to backhand me because you just didn't yell at your parents ever. And so I was stuck. So there's a part of my little kid brain that's going, okay, this isn't happening and this isn't happening. And there was like nothing that seemed really real about it. So when the conversation ended, so I was like fully there
Mm-hmm.
and just yelling into the moment. And then the fact that that so goes to what you were saying, that full presence, and this is something extremely important, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to be completely ignored. Yeah.
Yeah. So can you tell the community what is identity abuse?
So the way I like to describe it is when external information comes to you and it damages your sense of self and you believe it because it feels true. And
Mm-hmm.
typically it'll happen at a vulnerable state in life. And you just start believing that lie. And I know this is going to sound really odd, but typically it happens somewhere around second grade. And I'm not exactly sure. Most of the people I ask them their question, where did that happen? And they would say second grade, but it's because you're
Mm-hmm.
vulnerable. I tell people all the time, there was nobody standing in the hallway next to me saying, hey, you do matter. Your voice does matter. I
Mm.
believe you. There was no countering voices.
Mhm.
That voice that I heard and that received is I don't matter. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter when something's important. It doesn't matter if I speak up. Nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
I believed that lie. So I started believing that about myself
Mm.
because I had no maturity to be able to counter that with anything. And then
Yeah.
as I grow into adulthood, when somebody says, oh, wow, what you say is really important. And I'm like, yeah, no, not sure about that because the lie feels more true.
Mm. Yeah. Oh my goodness. And so I like what you said when you was like, so you believe the lie about yourself. And that right there again, like it's so heavy because you believe the lie about yourself. So, like you said, people will come to you and they'll tell you, like, okay, you're so awesome. Or I'm gonna say this with some ladies, it's even in the compliments that some ladies can't take. They can't receive the compliments when someone
Exactly.
says, "Oh, you're very beautiful. Do you know you're beautiful? Oh, I like the way your voice is. You sing so well. Oh, you speak so nice. You did a awesome job." And you're like, "Well, since no one at my home believes that I'm good. No one in my home believes in me. So then what you're saying about me has to be the lie, because why would the people in my home lie to me?"
And it's important for everyone who's watching this to understand that that is a subconscious process. You're
Mm.
not sitting back going, "Well, they didn't say it and they didn't say it." So it's just when somebody comes up and says, "Wow, you did a really good job," you'll have a tendency to say, "Well, I missed this and this and this, and this could have been better and that could have been better." And it's a subconscious reaction. When
So
we talk about identity abuse and we stop and say, "Okay, why do you do that?" Then we can start breaking it apart from an analytical perspective. And it goes back to that concept that I said of choice, right? You choose what you believe. Everybody chooses what they believe. Yeah.
okay, please, okay, break that down more. Oh, you got me so excited. Oh my goodness, like I couldn't even hold it. I just wanted to scream. But so again, just even from the statement, and if you can break that down more, you choose what you believe. So why is it my choice of what I believe? Please break that down. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay.
Well, you can believe that you're loved or you can believe that you're not loved. You
Mm-hmm.
get to you get to you choose that. Everything that you do, you're choosing to believe. When somebody tells you something, so if I ask this question a lot, I'm like, "Do you believe the earth is round?" So, Andrea, do you believe the earth is round?
I mean, I do,
Yeah. Yeah. Why do you believe that?
because someone told me.
Ah, yeah. Have you ever actually been out into space far enough to see with your own eye the entire earth to see that it's round?
I have not.
Okay. And just understanding that. We believe things that other people tell us based on the consistency of proof. And when somebody tells you you're not good enough, 10 other people can tell you that you're good enough, and one other person can say, "Yeah, you kind of missed the mark here." And you're going to believe that one person more because the feeling that comes with it goes back to
Mm-hmm.
that first thing. And you're going to only listen to the things that corroborate that feeling that you have.
That was good. I feel like such a y'all, okay, TC community. I feel like such a nerd in the therapy world. Like I am like, oh my God, oh my God. Because this is something that I talk about all the time, all day long. And so that's why I'm like so feeling like a nerd, like feed me more, tell me more, like because these are the things that I talk about a lot with my clients. And so with identity abuse, it's like we're being abused about our self identities. So what are the ways that we can be abused about our self identities?
Um, for those of you who I have a little video that it's pinned to my personal profile on Facebook that you can go back. It's pinned there, so you can go back all the time, watch it over and again. And it has 4 different ways. And one is just I call identity abuse, is just somebody just looking at you straight up and saying you're stupid. What's wrong with
Mm,
you? Or just straight up just abusing who you are. And then the second one I call assault, which is like something really dramatic or violent, like war or rape, where your sense of reality is assaulted. That I thought the world was like this, and now it's this, and so now I'm believing that there's a shift in my worldview. And then the third is neglect, which is
mm,
who you are was completely ignored or neglected. Though the people who raised us were emotionally devoid. I can never ever remember my mother ever hugging me and telling me she loved me ever.
mm.
And that's yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but with that phrase, I see that a lot with my client. Well, with my younger clients and even with my older clients, because when we talk about what was the culture in the house like, what was the culture in the home, and that will be something they will say, well, I never did receive love, or I didn't have much attention. And so then we break that down and we're processing like, okay, because you did not receive. So I always break down first with Eric Erickson's stages of development, and I take it all the way back to stage one of trust versus mistrust, or mistrust versus mistrust. I take it back right there, and I'm saying, so when you do not have, okay, at that age of 0 to 1, we want that nurturing, we want that love. When you do not receive that in that stage, then you're constantly looking for that in all of the rest of the stages. It's almost like, well, you didn't complete this course to really get to the next course. But the thing about it is, going to the next course is inevitable.
Right. It's like going into algebra without learning math.
Yeah. You better talk about it, Pastor Elaine. Yes, it is. And so
And,
I
and,
say,
and something that I think is really important, and I'm going to probably reiterate this way too many times, but again, this is a subconscious thing. People often say, well, that happened when I was a kid. Why can't I get over it? Because it was put into your worldview at a very young age, and you weren't an adult back then to say, oh, I'm going to counter that with something else. Now that you're an adult, you'll say, yeah, I should be able to move on. But there's a healing process because your framework of life has now been shifted into this thing. And it does take time. It's an extremely simple philosophy. It does take time to undo the things and the habits and the reactions that you have that were attached to that you've lived out all these years.
And Pastor Lane, can you tell us, why is it so hard for us to break habits or break things that we have been learned or that we have been taught in our childhood?
Well, a lot of it is safety issues, and I need to retract for 1 second. The fourth way that people's identity are abused is perception. So perception is an older sibling being supplanted by a new baby, and there's a perception that I am now less valuable than the baby, or my parents get divorced and I must be to blame. And so it's a perception. So there's a lot of perception. So I didn't want to leave that one kind of hanging. Something that you were talking about, that early childhood development, and then I'm going to have you re-ask the question. And I use this example: when you're an infant and you're hungry, you cry, and you learn based on the steps that are coming. You learn that if these steps come, I'm going to be helped. If these steps come, I'm going to be hurt. You learn the voice. You learn all sorts of things as an infant. And you maintain that because it becomes a safety issue. If I cry too much and those steps are coming, I need to stop crying because I know what's going to happen is I'm going to get hurt more than I'm going to get helped. And you learn so much about just the way people interact. You know who to avoid at a very early age, when to avoid them. If dad is in the garage, you know he's going to come back in mad, and you don't ever go in the garage while he's out in the garage. You learn this stuff. Nobody has to teach you these things. It is because of your experiences. But I really believe a lot of it, going back to the initial question, is a safety issue, that just biologically we're watching things that we just want to be safe. And we will believe that thing because it causes safety. It's easier for me to not talk to my parents than it is to have another one of those experiences and feel as bad as I did when it was over. Why would I want to go do that again? And so it's easier just to do whatever everybody else wants me to do and say what everybody else wants me to say.
Yeah. And you know what? To go on to that, I've had some parents ask, why is it that my child doesn't talk to me? And it fits into what you were just saying. They don't talk to you because they know that, not they know, they have seen your past responses. And so they're not at the place where they're like, okay, well, this is more important than what this is, because biologically, developmentally, they can't what's the word I'm looking for? Contextualize or compartmentalize. That's the word I was looking for. They can't compartmentalize. So they don't know the levels of, well, this is more important than this is more important than this and this. All they know is, well, when I didn't do well on this exam, you reacted like this. And so even though someone touched me inappropriately, she's going to react the same way.
Right, right, right. Yeah,
Mhm.
and they just assume the habit will be retained across all contexts, like you said. And I think the lack of good quality listening and the tendency to make every moment a learning moment. And I don't want to get off into parenting because I can tell you a
Oh,
whole.
no, you're fine. Go ahead.
But you know, when with kids, if you make every single moment a learning moment, they will
Mhm.
get exhausted. And I tell people, does every moment have to be a learning moment? They're like, well, yeah. And I'm like, no, go blow bubbles, and don't talk about the circumference of the bubble. Just go blow bubbles and have fun and relax.
I agree. I agree. And like something that I definitely try to implement, and it's something that I had to do in my own house. So my son had to teach me how to have effective communication skills with him. And that's where I really learned. I learned it from my child
And
because
take that. I mean, that's a great statement for you to let your audience know. Go ask your kids, how can I be a better listener? How can I be a better
Mhm.
communicator? Parents have a hard time doing that. And I would ask my clients sometimes, how would you punish your child, or how should a child be punished if they do X? They will actually give themselves harder punishments than most parents because
yes.
we just don't ask often enough.
And you're right. You're so right. And so we implemented something called session. And so session was pretty much like when he comes to me and says, "Mom, can we have a session?" That means he's about to say something to me that is very important. And my reaction, I have to remain chill. I have to remain calm. Also in session, another stipulation of session is whatever we talk about in session, in the parameter of session, cannot leave the session. And this is before I even became a therapist. It was like there was already a confidentiality and privacy clause. Like, boom, this is what it is. And then also, it was a lot of times he didn't want he doesn't want the advice.
Right. He wants to share information.
He wants to share information. And then I have to ask, well, can I give you some advice or can I share? Because then it allows him to decide. Okay. Well, yeah, mom, I want to hear what you got to say. What's your feedback? Well, what is it? Well, okay. Well, this is what I would say. And even then, I'm not talking to him in a manner of, well, this is what you need to do because you should have been doing this. Mm, no, 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 no. Because again, what I did learn from him is this is his life and this is his course. And something that my grandmother would say is because every tub has to sit on their own bottom, plain and simple. Like I can't run your race for you. I can't walk in your shoes. The same as he can't run my race and he can't walk in my shoes.
Right. And the value of listening, and listening at the level, not I'm going to listen long enough until I can say something,
Yo.
but listen to understand and to connect at where they're at right now. If you can't connect at where they're at right now, you're going to miss a lot of stuff. Yeah.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I hope, TC community, conversation community, I hope you guys are definitely listening because Pastor Elaine is really giving some really, really good beneficial information. If you know someone that needs to hear this conversation, or more so, not even necessarily they need to hear the conversation, how about you just slide it on anyway? Say, hey, the conversation was really good last night. Might want to listen to this. This was good. Or, hey, I'm just sliding this to you because I feel like it was really good information for me. So hopefully you got something out of it also. And so I really want the TC community to let people know about this conversation. I want you to take there because there were a lot of takeaways, but the only takeaway that's going to be the most important is the one that you take away.
Yeah.
Because
I'm
go ahead.
sorry to interrupt. Would it be okay for me to transition just for a second on how to heal?
Yes, go ahead. Okay, I told you I am such a therapy geek.
Yeah.
So,
So the whole idea of really being able to receive information as true has to be a genuine intellectual exercise. And you have to be at a place where you're open to receiving information and saying,
mhm,
I'm going to genuinely allow myself to be present in the moment and to receive
mhm,
an item of truth. And if it's okay, I could share that story that I shared. Is
Yes.
that okay? Okay. So I share the story with anybody, anywhere, at any time. And it's the story about the day that God made you. And it's important that you just listen and receive it, because your mind is going to be trying to counter some of the information. All right. Now, I want you to imagine, and if you don't believe in God, just fake it for 2 minutes, okay? so, so there was a day that the
TC
God,
community, we love Lord.
yeah, yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. But there might be somebody who watches this is going to go, you know. But anyway, so there was a day that the God that made the mountains and the oceans and the seas and the flowers and the trees and the animals stopped everything he was doing, and he said, I'm gonna make a new person. And he thought about you. And he took the cells of your body and he swirled them in his hand, and he thought about the color of your eyes and the color of your hair and the shape of your toes. And he was so excited. He's like, angels, check it out, man. I make me somebody new. And they're like, wow, God, you've never made anything like that before. And he said, no, this person's different. This person's different than anything I've ever made before. And the way they see the world and respond to the world is going to be different than anything I've ever made before. And he thought about your favorite food and your favorite animal and your favorite color. And he says, this is good. He says, I love you. I love you so much. Everything about you matters to me. The things that bring you happiness and joy, but also the things that bring you sorrow and pain, it all matters to me. And it's my hope for you, as it is for everyone, that when I put you in the world, that you have two parents that tell you every day how much you matter to me, every day. Now, some parents will do the job really well and other parents not so much. And some parents aren't around. And then sometimes bad people do bad things to good kids. And the world's going to come along and say, you don't look right, you don't sound right, you don't live here, you don't have these people, you don't know this stuff. And every day, thousands of messages will bombard you. And it might get really hard for you to hear my voice and to remember how much you matter to me. But I want you to know that every moment of every day, I'm right by your side. No matter where you go and no matter what you do, I will never abandon you. And I also want you to know that I will never be disappointed in you. Now, I might be disappointed in some things that you say or some things that you do or even some things that you think about. But I'll never be disappointed in who you are, because you are exactly the way I created you to be. And I am your biggest cheerleader. And I am looking forward to seeing you again someday and welcoming you home, giving you a great big hug. And I hope you remember that every day for the rest of your life.
Oh my goodness. Oh, thank you so much. Oh my goodness. Okay, TC community. Tell me, how did it make you feel of hearing Pastor Elaine's story? And I want you to know that that story resonated with me because, there are some moments where you're like, why me? There are some moments where it's like you just want to give up, you just want to let go. But just a reminder of that God made me and I'm unique and that He chose me and that He loves me. He loves me unconditionally because He knows the number of hairs on my head. He made my color skin. He made my eyes. He made my nose. He made the shape of my toes and everything about me. He knows the things I love to eat, and He knows the things that'll trigger me and make me upset. But God made me. And it's just even in that story, the reminder that it gives you that hope, and it gives you that just hold on a little bit longer. Just hold on.
Yes, yes.
Oh my goodness, I love that story. Where did that story come from?
I, when I was in a many years ago, one of my supervisors said, God took your cells of your body and made you. And that's all she said. And I've taken it and just expanded over time, especially with all the therapy and stuff that I've done, hearing the stories
Yeah.
and the things that people need, and just added all the messages that the world lies about that we tend to receive.
Mm.
And I used to say it in third person language, and then I turned it into first person language and just watched the impact of people. Yeah.
So powerful and so profound. Again, so powerful.
Thank you.
And I just want to thank you for coming on the conversation, for sharing about identity abuse. I am definitely one that when you said it to me the very first time and you broke it down to me, I was like, that makes sense. And it's crazy because it's one of those phrases that's put together, two words put together that you would not have necessarily put together. But
Exactly,
when you
which is
do
why
put
I
it
give
together,
God all the credit because I wouldn't have come up with it. Yeah,
and you're like, it's like, wait a minute, identity abuse. My identity has been abused. It has been abused by society. It has been abused by people in my family. It has been abused by my friends. It has been abused by my spouse, by my boyfriend, my girlfriend. My identity has been abused. And so now I'm at the place where I choose to believe certain things about myself. And so the question is, what do I choose to believe about myself? I choose to believe one, because I was told that I'm the head and not the tail, that I am above and not beneath. I am the lender and not the borrower, that I am a chosen and appointed. That's what I choose to believe about myself. And let alone all of that, I am an awesome, unique, amazing, extraordinary person. Oh my goodness. Like, okay, Pastor Lane, I told you, like, I am such a geek. Like, I take it in and I love it. But more so because I love to encourage people, and more so I love to encourage women, because we as women, we we internalize, and because we are nurturers, I feel like we look for that nurturing. And
exactly, exactly. Yeah, yeah. And it's I think a lot of it's looking for validation.
yes, yes, looking for that validation. And it's hard because, again, when we didn't receive it in our home, and so we learned a certain thing in our home environment, and now we're trying to unlearn that. And so now we have to go through this healing process because my identity was abused.
And I really believe that when people understand that somebody gave them a lie and they can give
Mhm,
it back. I mean, they can give it away. When they
mhm,
really understand it's I'm not bad. Oh, and I was going to show you this. So this is what people think about themselves. I'm unlovable, I'm unworthy, I'm incapable, I'm rejectable. This is what the enemy
mhm,
wants you to believe, but this is what's true. I am designed by God, and I'm having a feeling of rejection, feeling of
mm.
unworthiness, a feeling, and it's just a feeling. And when they realize that I'm just having this feeling, and they can say, okay, what am I going to do with that feeling? Am I going to believe it as my identity, or am I just going to recognize that it's a feeling that I'm having in the moment?
Oh, and that was good too. Okay, can you just repeat that again? Because I want, just in case if someone did not get that, can you repeat that again?
Yeah, I'll try. so this comes from dialectical behavioral therapy, by the way, so just so that you know, I didn't design this. This is what the enemy wants you to believe, that you when and we feel this way when we feel inadequate. We go into a room and there's all these smart people or whatever, super dressed up people. We feel inadequate, but when we're unhealthy, it will make us feel like our identity is unhealthy, like it is who we are.
Mhm.
And this is what the enemy wants you to believe. He wants you to believe that who you are is bad and wrong. But this is what is true. So I just told you the story about the day that God made you. Your identity is designed by God. And you can decide when you're having that feeling, you walk into the room and you're having that feeling of inadequacy, you need to recognize, oh, there's that feeling I'm having. I have that feeling a lot. And when you take that split second to identify and label the feeling, it gives you the power to decide, what am I going to do with that feeling? Am I
Mm.
going to let it define me? Is it going to define my behavior? Is it going to define my identity? Or is it something that I'm going to kick it to the curb? Not today, enemy. Not today.
Mm. I love that. I love that. I hope y'all heard Pastor Lane. She said, not today. Okay? Not today, devil. Hmm. As I can hear my grandmother, the devil is a lie. No, not today. Or we see the shirts and they say, not today, Satan.
Yep.
So, yes, that was so wonderful. Again, Pastor Lane, thank you so much for coming on to the conversation and telling us more about identity abuse, letting us know now we have the awareness, like you have brought this into our forefront of saying, like, hey, your identity has been abused because of a lie. because of a lie someone told you about you. So she told us that was not true. That was not true. And you choose to believe. You choose to believe what you're going to believe about yourself. You choose what you believe. And so the question is, what are you going to believe about yourself? Who is going to speak the truth? Are you going to allow someone else who says something about you be the truth? Or are you going to change it? Because you have that power. So again, thank you so much, Pastor Lane.
Thank you.
Pastor Lane, can you tell the community how can they reach you?
The easiest way to reach me would probably be a DM through Facebook. That's probably the fastest, easiest way. And I'm Pastor Elaine on every platform that's out there other than Snapchat. Yeah, yeah.
All right, conversation community. So you heard it here. You can connect with Pastor Lane on Instagram, Facebook. On Instagram, she is the Pastor Elaine. On Facebook, also the Pastor Elaine. So you could definitely connect with her on those social medias. And then she has her website. Pastor Lane, can you give us your website?
Yeah, my website is fishing for truth, because I have a fishing
Mm.
addiction. I like to fish.
Pastor Lang gave us a fun fact about her. She loves to fish. And see, you thought it was because God said that we was a fisherman of men. She says no, she just likes to fish. No, but again, thank you so much, Pastor Lane, for coming on the conversation. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for all your encouraging words that you have given the conversation community. TC community, again, I hope you really pull some takeaways from today's conversation. Again, please slide this information over to your family, to your friends, to co-workers, to anyone. Like, hey, check this out. This was really good. Because we all suffer somewhere with identity abuse. It's all about defining or finding where it is that we are suffering at and from, and then begin that healing process and that healing journey. So, again, thank you, Pastor Elaine.
Thank you for letting me be here.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, TC community, we will be here again, you know it, next Thursday, same time, same place. And we will be discussing more about where is she now? Who is she now? So, you know that we are the series that we're in talking about who is she now and how did she become who she is. So, again, thank you so much, TC community. I will see you guys next week. And remember, show the world who you are and don't allow the world to tell you who you are, because you get to choose what you believe. All right. Y'all have a good evening. Good night.